morning. It's October 13th. I'm on my way to church right now. I'm shooting this video on the go because I didn't have time yesterday or this morning to make a video. Many of you know that I'm going through the book of Proverbs this month. There's 31 days in October, and so we can fit in all the Proverbs of 31 Proverbs, which is really amazing. Thank you guys for following along. I pray that God has been speaking to you, or that He's been putting something on your heart, that this has been edifying to you in some form and capacity. I've really been enjoying making these videos, and so I just thank you guys for following along. But we're going to listen to Proverbs 13 this morning, and then I just have a couple of things to say after that.
A wise son heeds his father's instruction, but a scoffer does not listen to rebuke. A man shall eat well by the fruit of his mouth, but the soul of the unfaithful feeds on violence. He who guards his mouth preserves his life, but he who opens wide his lips shall have destruction. The soul of a lazy man desires and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made rich. A righteous man hates lying, but a wicked man is loathsome shame. Righteousness guards him whose way is blameless, but wickedness overthrows the sinner. There is one who makes himself rich, yet has nothing, and one who makes himself poor, yet has great riches. The ransom of a man's life is his riches, but the poor does not hear rebuke. The light of the righteous rejoices, but the lamp of the wicked will be put out. By pride comes nothing but strife, but with the well-advised is wisdom. Wealth gained by dishonesty will be diminished, but he who gathers by labor will increase. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life. He who despises the word will be destroyed, but he who fears the commandment will be rewarded. The law of the wise is a fountain of life, to turn one away from the snares of death. Good understanding gains favor, but the way of the unfaithful is hard. Every prudent man acts with knowledge, but a fool lays open his folly. A wicked messenger falls into trouble, but a faithful ambassador brings health. Poverty and shame will come to him who disdains correction, but he who regards a rebuke will be honored. A desire accomplished is sweet to the soul, but it is an abomination to fools to depart from evil. He who walks with wise men will be wise, but the companion of fools will be destroyed. Evil pursues sinners, but to the righteous good shall be repaid. A good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children, but the wealth of a sinner is stored up for the righteous. Much food is in the fallow ground of the poor, and for lack of justice there is waste. He who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. The righteous eats to the satisfying of his soul, but the stomach of the wicked shall be in want.
That's a great proverb. Verse 13 stands out to me in that proverb, and it says, "He who despises the word shall be destroyed, but he who fears the commandment will be rewarded." And I'm just so thankful for God's word. I've been doing a little bit of restudying and diving into how the Bible came about. We know that in the early church, specifically in the Catholic Church, was they had Latin Vulgate. But around 1400, the common language was no longer Latin, it was English. And two men translated the Bible into English. Was something that was very forbidden, and one of them burned at the stake because of it. But we have, the first one was John Wycliffe, and John Wycliffe took the Latin Vulgate and translated it into English. And this was before the printing press, and he translated the Bible. And right now there's, I think, about 250 Bibles out there of John Wycliffe's, and one of them actually sold for, in 2016, for I think like $1.7 million. But I think there's about 250 right now that we have in the world. I think that's accurate. But William Tyndale came along after John Wycliffe, and he knew like 8 different languages. And so what he wanted to do was take the original Greek and the original Hebrew and translate that into English from in the Old Testament, New Testament, into one complete Bible. And he was successful, and he went to Germany, and he this was during the time where the printing press just came out, and he had the first English Bible printed after John Wycliffe's Bible, which was English still, but this was a better translation, because if you take the King James version of the Bible, which came after these translations, but if you take the King James version and compare it to the Latin Vulgate, it actually, there's verses that are very, very different, and there's wordage that is different. For instance, John 3:17 in the Vulgate, it says, God sent his son into the world not to judge the world. Well, the King James version says God sent his son into the world not to condemn the world. So there you have the wordage is different, and I think the King James is actually more accurate because it goes off the Textus Receptus, not the Alexandrian texts, not the critical texts, as some of the Vulgate does. But that's beside the point. What was so amazing is that these two men translated the Bible into English, and now we have access to the Bible because I believe God used these men for his purpose. And William Tyndale, he really paid the price because he burned at the stake, because this was considered heresy. You couldn't own a Bible, you couldn't read the Bible, you couldn't translate the Bible. And so when William Tyndale did this, he translated the Bible into English and distributed these Bibles. This was for our benefit, and I'm so thankful for these men of God that persevered. They were pioneers of the faith, and they really put their necks on the line so that you and I today can have the Bible. And one of the last statements that William Tyndale made when he was burning at the stake, he was strapped to a stake, burning alive, and the last words that were recorded, it said that he prayed that the God open the king's eyes that he may see, if I'm saying that right. And at the time it was King Henry VIII. King Henry VIII was ruling at that time and had signed into law that nobody could own a Bible, that anybody in possession of the William Tyndale Bible had to bring it in, it was to be burned, and they could be executed because of having read that or being in possession of those Bibles, because only the church could have possession of that. But 2 to 3 years later, the same king that had Tyndale killed, made what is known as the Great Bible, and had scholars come in and translate the Bible into English, and it was read out to the public, which was so amazing. This was something that only God could change the heart of the king, right? The heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, and as the rivers of water, he turns it wherever he wills. And so Wycliffe, knowing the scriptures, Tyndale knowing the scriptures, so did Wycliffe. But Tyndale, knowing the scriptures, being a student of the word, knew that if what he asked God for, he would come through and persevere. He knew what the scriptures were, and that's why Tyndale, he was so passionate about the scriptures, because this was something that was embedded into him. And so I just want to encourage you today, be a student of the word, meditate upon God's word, and he'll reveal himself to you in mighty, powerful ways. Blessings on you guys. Have a great Sunday.